The overprinting of the Monarch product in 2021 is a solution I hear a lot for the problem that we currently face with the insane demand for Flesh and Blood products. In the end of 2020, in December mainly, there's just an insane amount of demand for products of Flesh and Blood on the secondary market. And in 2021, it seems like we're still having this insane demand for anything Flesh and Blood related, along with pre-orders for the Monarch. And I wanted to talk about our current state, how the feelings are in the whole universe of Flesh and Blood, and then I wanted to talk about that overprinting solution and tell you my thoughts. Now this isn't investment advice or any of that stuff. I'm just telling you my thoughts and ideas, and this is for entertainment and just to tell you what I think. So currently, man, if you're in the Flesh and Blood TCG community watching this video, you know this. You know what's happening. Things in the secondary market for Flesh and Blood are just spiking to ridiculous levels. I originally like to comment on those prices, but honestly, it's just gotten to a comedic level. Prices have spiked to the point where things that used to be a couple dollars are now 50 or $100, and it seems that each new target every week there's something new that just goes to an insane level. And from that, people have noticed that the first edition seal on the boxes for Flesh and Blood is money. And I feel that what's happened is the more and more sets that came out, you had Welcome to Wrath, Arcane Rising, and Crucible War. Every set that had that first edition print run logo on it is now an insane amount of money. So when people hear about pre-orders from the Monarch product out in April 2021, they're thinking, well, Welcome to Wrath spiked to ridiculous. Arcane Rising spiked. Crucible War is currently spiking, and it looks like it's just an insanely high upward trajectory. And they see the Monarch pre-release orders for the same seal that says first printing on it, and it's selling out everywhere. It's ridiculous. In the end of 2020, they started selling pre-orders for Monarch, and Team Covenant ran out, and a bunch of other sites have run out, and it's a big deal, man. This stuff has not even been printed yet. It has not even been fully printed, and it's selling out 4 months ahead of when it's scheduled. And the sentiment in the community is insane. It's just ridiculous how everything, it seems, of Flesh and Blood has turned from paper to gold. It's a ridiculous time period, and there's a lot of perceptions that Flesh and Blood is only investable and it's only a collection thing. It's not much of a game. And boy, do people in the future have something to really look back and reflect and be like, what the? We didn't even play the game. We should have played the game and figured out that it was actually fun to play too. Go figure. You're commenting on a game that you haven't even played on. I don't know. Anyway, that's another rabbit hole discussion. But long story short, the perception in the whole Flesh and Blood community is this is a very collectible, investable thing, and that makes sense. So that's really the sentiment. And essentially, what this means is that there is a huge demand for Flesh and Blood products, especially their new set Monarch. So having a huge amount of demand, the biggest solution that I've heard so far out of everyone is they need to overprint Monarch, so they slap people's hands, say no, you're gonna get burned on this. And I feel that overall, it does make sense to increase the supply. Demand is just at a comedic level. You do have to increase the supply a lot more so more people are able to buy the product at reasonable prices. And I totally agree with that, man. I definitely think it should, and it has been communicated to us by Legend Story Studios in certain ways, I believe, where they have said that the Monarch product is definitely going to have a much higher print than Welcome to Wrath, Arcane Rising, and Crew. And even though that makes sense to me, the total print number of boxes so far has been really small. I mean, it's been communicated to us as well that around 20 to 25,000 boxes of Welcome to Wrath and Arcane Rising were ever printed. So insanely, even if you increase it by 100% for Monarch, you're only looking at 40,000 boxes of the first edition, mind you. I'm not talking about unlimited. I'm just talking about the first edition seal ones. So it's been communicated that the supply is going to drastically increase for the Monarch product first edition. And even though that is good, I don't know, man. I think that overprinting is definitely not the 100% way to fix the problem. I think that it's good. I definitely think that there should be some incremental increase in the first edition product so everyone can get some sort of piece. And I mean, maybe there should be some sort of allocation method. I just feel that there's more to just printing more boxes that's going to solve the problem. And what I hear a lot too is people think that this is going to be something where it's like the Magic the Gathering trajectory, where they make a couple nice sets, and then you fall into a Homelands and Fallen Empires type of thing. And if you're not familiar with those sets, they were huge flops. They were really overprinted, and for many years, those products did not have any value on the secondary market. Homelands and Fallen Empires, the biggest cards in those are just really, really not even good. And that kind of leads me into why. Let's look at Magic the Gathering for instance, right? So those two sets were complete flops. They printed way too much product. People were pissed off at Magic the Gathering and Wizards of the Coast. They're like, well, these products suck. And the thing that people have to realize when they're making that comparison that, okay, well, Flesh and Blood needs to overprint this just like MTG, man, what they don't understand, I feel that the big misconception is that Fallen Empires and Homelands had the worst power creep of cards in the boxes. I mean, the cards in there completely sucks. And I can see that with a high certainty, man, because I've looked through all those cards. I own a complete set of Fallen Empires and Homelands, and the power creep is just horrible. Literally, all those cards are so easily replaceable by any other card, and I feel that even the most expensive cards in those sets aren't very good at all. So even though they were overprinted, the reason why they didn't have any value or retain any value is because literally you could open any other set after them, and the power creep was so much more. Now let's look at Flesh and Blood. Flesh and Blood, all the cards in the sets are reasonably powerful compared to what all the cards do. Honestly, man, the power creep in Flesh and Blood is like I've never seen in any other TCG. The common and rare cards, honestly, have really high power creep for what they are. So I don't think that we're going to fall into that kind of realm. I don't think we're going to have product that is overprinted for Flesh and Blood. Everybody is like, oh, this isn't an investment anymore. Let's fire sell all my cards. And the market is just dumped and saturated with all of these cards and nobody wants it and everything's tanked. I don't think we're going to run into that issue, especially with Monarch, and I feel that a lot of TCGs run into that issue, and they really have a problem putting the power creep into each set, and they put a really uneven power creep in one set, and then it goes down, and then it goes up, and then it goes down, and it goes up. Through what I've seen so far, and we've only had 3 sets, I'll give it that. But Welcome to Wrath, Arcane Rising, and Crucible War, all 3 sets, the power creep is pretty on par, man. Of all the commons and rares, you could debate with me, things were a little bit more uneven with the Majestics and all that stuff, maybe. But overall, if you compare Flesh and Blood to, I don't know, Magic the Gathering or Yu-Gi-Oh! And any other of those TCGs, the power creep fairness is just off the charts. It's just off the charts. And if you look at the old cards, man. And I just wanted to make that clear because I feel that when people talk about overprinting of Flesh and Blood, and they say that is the solution for their issue of an insane demand. Yes, I agree that printing an insane supply to match the insane demand is a solution that they should do. I definitely think that they should do that. Will they get into a circumstance where they had Magic the Gathering, where Fallen Empires and Homelands were a complete trash pit and you should never even touch those boxes? No, they're not going to have that issue. Are they going to have some sort of crash? Possibly. I don't know, man. The prices on the cards are ridiculous, but I think that even if they did have a crash, I don't really think that any of the big cards in Welcome to Wrath Alpha or any of the Alpha printing, man, there aren't that many cards of those Alpha around. Like the print run is really small. So will we have a moment where people have a thing where this product isn't as investable? That might occur. And will overprinting be a crux for that moment to where people think, wow, there's way too much of this product out there. Yeah, the supply way outweighs the demand as much, and people in the secondary market of Flesh and Blood get worried. Yeah, but honestly, I personally, my opinion, I don't think that's going to happen. I think that Legend Story Studios is smart, and the way that they've played this, the way that they've played the secondary market game, is they've always printed enough to where it gets bought out, and they don't have supply just sitting around, and that's good because if they did have that, people would get extremely scared. So I feel that their objective is to roll this out really gradually, and make sure that there's enough supply for the current demand, but also do it in a way where they sell out. Because if they don't sell out and there's just boxes and boxes and boxes in warehouses that people can't get rid of, it's really going to put a detriment on the game. And they don't want that marketing. They don't want that type of marketing. And I just feel that, sum up, overprinting for Flesh and Blood Monarch product. The product is going to be having a very large increase in supply. Even if you look at 100,000 booster boxes, it's really not that much compared to the 20,000. The level of demand is just insane. Now, whether they release the first edition Monarch and Unlimited at the same time is a solution. I don't know with that too. I mean, that could help, but then you'll have a lot of people who get Unlimited and they're pissed off that they didn't get first edition. So I feel that currently, first edition, they'll wait until it sells out, and then they'll roll out with the Unlimited, because if you sell it at the same time, you're going to get a lot of weird stuff happening. I don't think that they're going to do it exactly at the same time. They could, and that's a possible solution as well, is you print a certain amount of first edition, like 100,000 boxes, and then everything after that is just unlimited. That's a solution too, but I feel that overall we're gonna see some very, very turbulent times with this printing of Monarch, and even though people think it's going to be like other trading card games in the past, I don't think so. I think the boxes will retain at least their value that you paid for them. It just doesn't make sense to me that a box full of cards that are applicable, that have a power creep along with the other cards, is not going to be valuable in the future. I think it's going to be very valuable, and not only that, when you have Monarch, this is supposed to be their big set, and everyone knows this shit. Everyone knows this. Is that Monarch is the war for Flesh and Blood. You had the Welcome to Wrath, Arcane Rising, Crucible War. Well, the Crucible War, what comes after that is the frickin' war. So that is going to be a very iconic moment for the game. But not only that, I've told you in the past too, is that Flesh and Blood is currently in early access after Crew. And once we have the war and we have Monarch, that's gonna be when the whole game is completed from what we've been communicated. So when you have that type of product along with the first seal printing, it's just gonna be a cluster, and it already is. It's sold out completely on many different sites for the pre-order of the box. And another thing to move into is the pre-orders are sold, but we've seen in the past, man, that pre-orders can get canceled. And when people get pre-orders that are canceled for Monarch, and you're talking about if someone pre-ordered a box for like $100, and then you got a bunch of people scalping them for $300 each, and you spent, I don't know, well, let's put a figure. Let's say you spent $400 on a pre-order for Monarch. and you didn't get your box. You spent 400 and spikes to $300 each box. So essentially, the case that you bought is worth $1,200, but you didn't get it because your store called up and said, "Ooh, sorry, we didn't get supplied that case. Sorry, bud, we can't give you your first edition Monarch product." People are going to be extremely pissed off. Extremely pissed off. And that's going to burn a lot of people. It's going to be weird, and that's going to cause bad relationships with them in stores. And it's not the store's fault. I've heard of so many stores where they say, "Hey, we're going to get these 20 cases. We've been told this," and then after that, they say, "Oh, sorry, we didn't get any cases, or we got 8 cases, and we had to do it the FIFO method of when people purchase these pre-orders." So it's definitely going to be a weird time, man. And I think that, you know, to alleviate that pain of people pre-ordering, not getting their product, and being really pissed off because it's being sold for a lot more money, it is going to be tough. I honestly think that to wrap things up, the printing of Monarch, the supply is definitely going to be a lot bigger, and how big that supply is, who knows? But at this point in time, it doesn't seem like any any type of supply that's even fathomable to me is going to be enough for the demand of this market. Everyone knows that that first edition sticker means money, so everyone's trying to get on that train, no matter if that's right or wrong, or if that's gonna happen or if it doesn't happen. But from what I see, I definitely think there's money in it, regardless, because of, people open their boxes over time, and if you want to keep the box long term, it's definitely going to appreciate. It's just going to be a very strange way that they're going to roll it out, and it has to be done elegantly. And maybe this is the moment where something does happen in the market and people do get burned, but it's going to have to happen eventually, because at this point in time, these prices for Flesh and Blood products are just off the charts. I mean, unless all currencies worldwide convert to the Flesh and Blood trading card game, and now Flesh and Blood products are the new currency for everyone worldwide, because it always appreciates in value, and there's no sense of holding your current country's denomination. Unless that scenario plays out, which I don't think it will, then the only other thing is Flesh and Blood's going to have to take a hit. It's going to have to take a hit sometimes. It's not going to be that bad, man. All the old cards, all the ones that have a certain print run. I mean, if it has a print run of, like, I don't know, at least 20,000 cards or below, I think it's fine. It's fine, honestly. But anything like those unlimited cards and stuff, you're probably going to see a bigger hit, because the more supply of something means the more demand of something, and it just doesn't make sense that things will just keep going up and up and up. And with Monarch, everyone now is thinking that it's gonna be a really weird thing, because people are pre-ordering, those pre-orders might not go through, and then when you actually get to release date, if all the investors and collectors are just buying up the product, no one's actually going to be able to play the damn game. And when you have that scenario where literally everyone just buys up the boxes, keeps them in their closet, and because they know that it's going to appreciate over the long run, it's going to be weird. So I feel that you need to incentivize people to open the boxes. There needs to be some sort of incentive program, whether that be a redemption program of cards, single cards being given back to the stores for promos. You have to give incentives to open the boxes, but also um, you have to do something, because it seems that as time goes on, more and more people are realizing, Welcome to Wrath, keep it sealed. Arcane Rising, keep it sealed, you make money. Crucible War, keep it sealed, you get money. Monarch, and people are thinking, keep it sealed, make money. If people keep it sealed and make money on Monarch, what are they going to do for Kingdoms? What are they going to do for other sets? They're going to keep it sealed and make money. And with this whole investor wave thing, it seems that is the trend. And yeah, man, if that continues, it's going to be weird because people are going to hoard the boxes, and nobody's going to be able to actually play the game until the unlimited product comes out, and that's heartbreaking, man. It's heartbreaking that people who actually want to play the game, who are seeing all these spoilers of cards going on like every day up to the release, are like, I just want to play the game. Go into their store, oh, we're sold out. Some guy just threw down 5 grand on my table, and he bought all the cases out. So it's just a weird thing, man. And I feel that I really want to wrap it on. I know I've gone on for a little bit long in this video, but just wanted to talk about it a lot because it's a big deal, man. Monarch is going to be a really big deal in the future, and it's going to be interesting to see how they roll it out. Because at this point in time, people are just very worried about the game. People love that it's doing amazing in the secondary market, and that people are getting into the game more and more and more. The community's growing. Everything's good. I'm not saying it's bad. The success is good, man. Success is amazing. But when you're trying to do that next level thing and get a huge set out, it's going to be tough to get the products around to all these people and really rebrand the perception of the people in the game, because currently I feel that people just say that this is an investment type thing and a collectability type thing, and I can see why people think that. But as time moves on, I feel that more people are going to be able to play the game with the cards that they want. More cards are going to be printed. People are going to play this game. When people actually start playing the game, that whole perception of Flesh and Blood is going to change. It's going to change from that collectability investability part to, wow, this is a really fun game to play. I'm really loving this. And even at this moment, man, anyone could go on Tabletop Simulator TTS and they can play Flesh and Blood with whatever the cards they want. It's actually really easy. And anyway, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but long story short, the perception is going to change from investability and collectability to, okay, this game's a lot of fun to play, and lore and artwork and all that stuff. And maybe Monarch is the bridge to that. Maybe this overprinting in the secondary market for Flesh and Blood, the investors and collectors are going to get burned. Things are going to tank a little bit, and unlimited prices and the prices of a lot of stuff are just going to be reduced, and things are going to be more stale instead of absolutely nuts. And when that happens, focus is going to shift more onto the gameplay and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know if that scenario will play out, but that's an interesting point too, is that until that side of the fence is reduced for investing and collectability, I feel that that news and that hype is just going to overshadow whatever gameplay there is in the Flesh and Blood TCG community. So this kind of hype and attention needs to be reduced, and the only way to reduce that is overprinting something. Overprinting the supply is the only thing that's going to reduce the demand and make it less desirable. And yeah, maybe they even say, maybe they even come out of the gate saying, hey, we printed 1 million boxes of Monarch. Who wants to buy them? And that'll be interesting. I really hope they do something like that, because then people in the community might say, oh, 1 million boxes? That's way too large. Maybe I shouldn't do this as much. Maybe that's the play. There's a lot of different predictions, man, that could happen, but essentially it does have to happen where, not if even if the Monarch product isn't it, some product in the future is gonna have to slap the heck out of people's hands and say, no, like, this product wasn't as good, or this product didn't appreciate as fast. This product didn't triple or quadruple the amount that you paid for it in 3 months. Maybe it takes like 2 or 3 years for that box to appreciate. But until then, until that moment where boxes don't appreciate literally double or triple in 2 to 3 months, I feel that you're going to have more people who are just hearing from their friends be like, hey man, I just made $1,000 by holding this case in my living room for 2 months, and I made $1,000. It's easy money, and until that stops happening, you're gonna have more people just buying as much product as they can because they know the money is there. And I know that I've wrapped around a lot with that. I'll finally summarize, is that the overprinting of the Monarch product is probably going to happen. They're probably going to print a lot more than the rest of the products that they've already had. This is a good thing because currently the demand for Monarch and for Flesh and Blood in general is insanely high. It's like up here. So they need to match that supply up here. Currently, the supply of the current first edition Welcome to Wrath, Arcane Rising, Crucible War is like here. Like this is a supply, but the demand is all the way up here for these products. So for Monarch, I feel that they are going to match this demand. They are going to match the demand with the supply of the product for the first edition, and I feel that the first edition product will be a lot more. And this is a good. And people might think that they should way overprint. I don't think that's the case. I don't think that they should do that. I think that overprinting is tough because if you reduce the amount of collectability in your card game, and it really puts a hindrance on everything. I feel like they'll definitely ratchet it up, but at the end of the day, if you don't have their product and you want it, then that's a good thing. Not everyone has your product and nobody cares anymore because everyone has it. So I feel that even if they overprint the product too, it's not going to be a bad thing because people are going to always want the cards because they're not going to screw up the power creep in the boxes. The power creep in the boxes of all the previous sets were around the same power creep, and they did a great job with that. So I think in Kingdoms the power creep's going to be on par. So even if the boxes of King or of Monarch don't double or triple in 2 to 3 months, I definitely think they will retain their value and will be desirable moving forward. You're not going to have a situation where there's an overprinting of Flesh and Blood like Magic the Gathering, where they had homelands and fallen empires. That scenario is not going to run its course because Flesh and Blood is really good at setting their mechanics, and the cards all have a really high power level, and you don't have to play with really expensive cards. You can play with the commons rare. So yeah, I think that's every single thought that I've ever had in my mind for my whole entire life. But thank you for watching, and let me know what you think about the overprinting of the Monarch product. It's going to be really interesting to see what's going to happen in the future, but it really is not going to be a big deal at the end of the day. But I can tell you for sure, man, there's going to be a lot of turbulence. There's going to be a lot of stuff that goes on, and I'm really interested to see how Legend Story Studios navigates this storm and really figures out what plays to make, because it's a really pivotal point in their game, and being successful is great, but you gotta, you know, that they're not in a lake anymore. They're in the big ocean. They're playing a big game, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how it all works out. Well, thanks for watching, guys. Later.